Hi, my name is Megan Carter. I'm 30 years old, and my life shattered at my dad's birthday party. One moment, laughter filled the dining room. Glasses clinking, candles flickering, everything felt safe. The next, his voice cut through the noise like a blade. Megan, the $200,000 I gave you, what did you do with it? The fork slipped from my hand and clattered onto the plate. My sister's face drained of color. My mother looked away. Silence swallowed the room, pressing down on my chest. And in that moment, I realized nothing would ever be the same. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. Growing up with Kristen as my sister was like living in someone else's shadow. She had the flashy clothes, the trips to Europe, and a knack for twisting every situation in her favor. I was the quiet one, the worker bee, saving money, chasing deadlines, dreaming of independence. But no matter how hard I worked, my family seemed to notice only Kristen's glitter. She'd borrow my things without asking, then roll her eyes when I complained. When she got into trouble, Mom rushed to defend her. When I succeeded, it barely made the dinner table. I still remember my 25th birthday. I came home with a promotion, bursting with pride. Kristen strolled in late, flaunting a new designer bag. Suddenly, my news felt like background noise. "Don't be dramatic, Megan," Mom said that night. "She's just excited. Let her have her moment." That phrase, "let her have her moment," it became the soundtrack of my 20s. Kristen's moments always seemed to swallow mine whole, and Mom made sure I stayed silent. Dad was different, though. He believed in me, even when the others didn't. When he gave me $800,000 for my boutique, I cried, not just for the money, but the trust. Finally, I thought I mattered. Finally, I wasn't just the afterthought daughter. But the cracks never healed. Kristen mocked my careful saving, calling me boring. Mom often said, "Kristen has flair. You, Megan, have responsibility. Balance each other out." Balance? That was her excuse for letting Kristen take, while I carried the weight of expectations. It was exhausting to always be the steady one, to watch my sister burn money while I scraped for dreams. And when Kristen called to cancel Dad's birthday, that exhaustion turned into suspicion. Her rushed tone, her flimsy excuses, they weren't new, they were her pattern. For years I had looked the other way, pretending her lies were harmless. But this time, something inside me shifted. Her secret felt bigger, darker, and directed at me. I didn't know it yet, but the party she tried to erase me from was about to expose everything my family had hidden in shadows. And the first crack in their perfect facade was waiting for me in Salt Lake City. When Kristen called to say Dad's party was canceled, her voice was tight, rehearsed, almost scripted. "It's just a cold, Megan. Don't bother flying in," she insisted, pushing me off the line. But Dad turning 60 was a big deal, a milestone he'd planned for months. He'd mentioned the guest list, the menu, even the watch he hoped someone might surprise him with. Why would he suddenly cancel? And why through Kristen instead of me? I checked my texts. No message from Dad. Stranger still, no call either. Something about Kristen's tone nagged at me, like she was covering something up. I called Aunt Ellen, the one person in our family I could trust. She laughed bitterly when I asked about the cancellation. "Canceled? Megan, I was just there yesterday. Your dad was planning the menu, arguing about which cake to order." Her words hit me like ice water. The party wasn't canceled. Kristen had lied. The question was why? Ellen hesitated before adding, "I saw Kristen with new designer bags. Prada, Chanel. Thousands spent in one afternoon. She's been flashing money around town." My stomach tightened. Kristen had always lived large, but this was different. Trips to Paris, jewelry, first-class flights, a lifestyle that didn't match her paycheck. I thought about the vague transfer notification, buried in my account history. Had she touched money that wasn't hers? The thought made my hands shake. I booked a flight to Salt Lake City anyway. 3 hours from Chicago felt like nothing. On the plane, I replayed her rushed voice, the way she cut me off, pushing me away. It wasn't about protecting Dad. It was about keeping me out. When I landed, night had fallen over Sugar House. Dad's street glowed with parked cars. Through the windows, warm light spilled out, music and laughter filling the night air. My chest clenched. The party was happening without me. I stepped inside, forcing a smile, the watchbox heavy in my hand. Dad looked healthy, laughing with his friends, while Mom hovered near the kitchen. Kristen swept through the room in heels, her diamonds catching the light. When her eyes met mine, she froze for a fraction of a second. Then she forced a smile, but her steps quickened as she turned away. Aunt Ellen found me by the dessert table, her glass steady in her hand. "Your sister told everyone you couldn't make it," she whispered, shaking her head. So Kristen had erased me, even before I walked through the door. Kristen's lie wasn't just to keep me away. It was tied to something bigger. And before the night was over, that secret would explode in front of everyone. The party was buzzing with chatter and clinking glasses. But beneath the laughter, tension coiled in the air. Dad stood at the head of the table, smiling as guests gathered for cake. I raised my glass to toast, but his expression hardened. Serious, almost piercing. "Megan," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "The $200,000 I gave you, what did you do with it?" The room froze. My heart dropped. $200,000? My glass slipped, nearly spilling. I don't know what you mean," I whispered, my voice shaking. I thought of the $800,000 for my boutique. But this money I had never seen. Kristen jumped in too fast, her laugh forced. "She probably just forgot, Dad. She's busy in Chicago." Her hands twisted nervously, her face pale, like someone caught under a spotlight. Dad's eyes narrowed. "Kristen," I asked Megan. His tone sliced through her excuse. Mom clutched her glass, knuckles white, but stayed silent, her eyes fixed on the floor. I forced the words out. "Dad, I never got that money, I swear." The room murmured, eyes darting between us. Kristen wouldn't meet my gaze. Dad's voice dropped, deliberate and cold. "I sent $200,000 to each of you. Separate from the boutique money. It was for your futures, no strings attached." My stomach turned. "No, Dad, I never received it." Kristen's lips pressed thin, trembling. Finally, she muttered, "I thought it was mine." Her words dissolved into tears. "You thought?" Dad roared, slamming the table. Glasses rattled. Guests flinched. "You spent $200,000 on handbags and vacations?" His voice thundered across the room. Anger surged through me. Years of her smug luxury flashed in my mind. I turned to Mom, desperate. "Did you know?" She flinched but said nothing. Dad's gaze cut to her, burning. "Linda, you were in on this too?" She stammered. "I thought we could replace it." I didn't mean for it to go this far. Replace it. My blood boiled. They had gambled my future and called it a mistake. Dad pulled out his phone, steady despite his fury. "I'm calling the police. Enough is enough." Kristen gasped, reaching out. "Dad, no, please!" Mom grabbed his arm, frantic. "We're family!" But he shook her off, cold as stone. Family doesn't steal futures. Family doesn't betray trust. Guests whispered, edging toward the door, unwilling to watch a family collapse. As Dad gave the dispatcher the address, my world cracked open in two. The life I thought I knew was gone, and justice was about to take its place. But calling the police was only the beginning. The reckoning hadn't even started yet. The police station was cold and stark, a sharp contrast to the warmth of Dad's house. I sat in the waiting area, my hands clasped tightly, still reeling from the chaos. Dad stood beside me, his jaw set like stone, while Aunt Ellen flipped through a folder of papers. Kristen and Mom were in separate rooms, each waiting to be questioned. The weight of betrayal pressed down, heavier than any silence I had ever known. An officer approached, his badge glinting. "Miss Carter, you'll want to hear this." He led us to a room with a one-way window. Through the glass, I saw Kristen slumped at a table. Her eyes were red, her hands twisting nervously. In another room, Mom sat with her head bowed. The officer cleared his throat. "Your sister admitted accessing a joint account. It held $200,000 for you and $200,000 for her. She withdrew your share a few weeks ago." My stomach dropped. That explained her sudden spree, bags, trips, jewels. She claims she thought it was hers. The officer continued, his tone skeptical. "Most of the money is gone. Maybe $10,000 remains in her accounts." 10,000 from 200,000 meant for my future. I looked at Dad, his jaw tight, his gaze locked on Kristen through the glass. "And my mother?" I asked, my throat tight. The officer flipped through his notes. Linda admitted she knew about it. She gave Kristen access, thinking no one would notice. The fury in my chest burned hot. They had gambled with my future. Aunt Ellen stepped forward, producing receipts. "Here, bags, jewelry, first-class tickets." The officer nodded. "This matches her statement. No attempt to hide it." I stared at the receipts. Chanel, Rolex, Milan. All paid with money that should have built my dream. The officer's voice was calm but firm. "This qualifies as felony theft in Utah. Up to 15 years plus restitution. We'll move forward with charges." Dad's voice broke the silence, low and raw. "I want them prosecuted. They betrayed my daughter." Kristen's tears flowed as she pleaded in the next room. Mom sat silent, her shoulders slumped in defeat. I should have felt relief, but instead came emptiness. Justice was here, but my family was gone. The officer turned back to us. "They'll stay tonight. Tomorrow, court will set conditions." As we stepped into the hall, Aunt Ellen touched my arm. "You did the right thing, Megan." I nodded, but the truth cut deeper. I hadn't just lost money, I'd lost trust forever. Weeks blurred into hearings and paperwork. Dad's lawyer explained probation, restitution, and fines. Kristen sold her Mercedes and handbags, scraping together $40,000 at best. Mom offered jewelry and trinkets. Barely another 10, 50,000 in total. A fraction of what they owed. The court ordered monthly payments, but it could take years to recover. If they failed, jail awaited. Their futures chained to debt and shame. Dad rewrote his will, leaving everything to me. Kristen and Mom were cut out completely. His words echoed in the lawyer's office. They lost my trust. They get nothing. I sat there, pen in hand, feeling the weight of both justice and loss. The reckoning had come, but peace was still far away. And as I faced what came next, I realized rebuilding would demand more than money. Months after the courtroom dust settled, I stood in downtown Salt Lake City. Above me hung a sign gleaming in the morning sun. Carter's Charm. My boutique. My dream. Inside, dresses lined the racks, each piece curated with sleepless nights and steady hands. The $800,000 Dad gave me, the gift of trust, had finally bloomed into reality. Opening day was chaos, but the best kind. Customers streamed in, bloggers snapped photos, and a local magazine called the store Salt Lake's new gem. For the first time in years, pride filled my chest. Back at the Sugar House home, now legally mine, Dad tended his garden while Aunt Ellen told stories. Sunday dinners became our ritual. Not grand, not flashy, but real. We laughed over burnt casseroles, teased Dad about his ties, shared honest moments. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. A family rebuilt on truth, not lies. Kristen and Mom faded into the background. Their lives shrunk to small apartments and quiet jobs. They sent court-ordered payments, tiny, sporadic, but I no longer counted on them. I didn't wish them harm, but the line between us was permanent. One evening, after closing the boutique, I sat sketching new designs under soft light. I thought about the $200,000 they stole, the $800,000 that saved me, and realized the lesson was never about money. It was about honesty, the currency of real love. Greed had destroyed Kristen and Mom. Truth had rebuilt me, Dad and Ellen. As I locked the shop door, the city lights flickered against the mountains. This was my home now, my future reclaimed, one choice at a time. If you've ever faced betrayal this deep, know this: your worth isn't measured in dollars. It's in your courage to rebuild, to walk away from what poisons you, and to choose the life you deserve. That's what saved me. It can save you too. If this story touched you, subscribe for more, and share your own journey in the comments below.